Hi, it's Mark Bossert, producer of the Pawlik Automotive podcast, and we're here in Vancouver with the big bopper himself, Bernie Pawlik of Pawlik Automotive, and we're talking cars. How are you doing this morning, Bernie?
I'm doing very well.
So we have a 2016 Honda Civic, a newer vehicle, and had a maintenance service. What was going on with this vehicle?
Well, this vehicle was due for a maintenance service, actually a little overdue for scheduled maintenance service. Vehicle has 50,000 kilometers, so a number of items were due at that mileage.
Maintenance service, so that's regular kind of scheduled thing that you guys let folks know about coming in for. And did you find anything unusual?
Well, there was a couple of things. First of all, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this car is that the owner came in, the vehicle is more than 5,000 kilometers overdue for service. I'll just get into a real quick photo here. We have the dash. I think you can see that. If you look, this is the dash display. This comes on, you turn the key on in the car, and right away it says right there, maintenance past due, 5,616 kilometers. There's also a couple of little numbers here, 0, 1, 2, 7, 9. Those are maintenance items that are required, and those correlate to different parts and components. So those were all due as well. But the light will come on when you're due for an oil change for certain. So basically, I guess one thing I want to talk about is leaving that too long. Like most modern cars, they have a maintenance reminder. It's a timer. Some of them, in the old days, it was just a timer. It would just go on mileage and go off. But more modern cars, they're sophisticated. They'll actually monitor your drive cycles. They'll make assessments. Like if you do a lot of highway driving, you'll get a longer oil change interval. If you do a lot of short trips, cold weather, it'll remind you to change the oil more frequently. It's actually pretty sophisticated on a lot of cars. And I find with Hondas, by the time the light comes on and tells you you're due for service, it's a good time. The oil's dirty, but not really dirty. And I think that's really the optimum time to change it. So leaving it 5,600 kilometers beyond the service interval is really not a good thing. There's a lot of expensive components, variable valve timing in this engine. It's sophisticated timing chain, a lot of things that can go wrong if you leave your oil too long.
So variable valve timing, what does that do for the vehicle?
Variable valve timing adjusts the timing of your engine valves, and it allows your engine to, it's basically there for improved gas mileage, improved performance, improved exhaust emissions. And it's amazing what a difference it'll make to an engine. Like a normal engine, there's a timing chain or belt that drives the camshaft, and the valves open and close at an exact time, whether you're idling or whether you're at 6,000 RPM. And really an engine, having the valves opening at different times makes a big difference to the performance of the engine, depending on the speed and what's required. So variable valve timing solves that. This is why so many of our modern cars run so well. You get so much power out of a little engine. Now, variable valve timing, they have the way it operates is it uses the engine's oil system with valves and special gears and sprockets that are adjusted with oil pressure, and they're very narrow passageways, so they require good oil flow through the passageways. And what happens to oil when you leave it, like beyond the oil change interval, it starts developing sludge, and it'll start plugging the passageways up, and then your variable valve timing system won't work. So you'll have engine performance problems, check engine light will come on, and bottom line, very expensive repairs.
So is any kind of special oil required for this particular engine?
Well, this oil specifies 020 synthetic oil. It's a common oil that's been used in Japanese cars for a long time. A lot of other manufacturers have their own kind of specs, but most modern vehicles use pretty thin oils like 020, 030, 040 on some more high performance model cars. They use the thin oils for good fuel economy because they flow really easily, and especially cold temperatures. But yeah, this is like 020 synthetic. It's a pretty common type of synthetic oil.
And what else did you do during this service?
Well, there was a number of other items recommended. So we did a brake fluid flush. We also did a motor vac fuel injection cleaning, which isn't a Honda recommended item, but we recommend that about every 50,000 kilometers, every 2 or 3 years for good engine performance. This is a port fuel injection system, so you can still do a motor vac cleaning. A lot of modern cars use direct fuel injection, and there's a fuel cleaning service as well, which is really critical. Like a valve combustion chamber cleaning service, but that's a slightly different service, same kind of idea. the other thing we did is the cabin air filter was due for replacement. And I'll just share a couple more photos because there's some interesting stuff to look at here. Here's the cabin air filter. It's amazing how dirty one of these can get after 50,000 kilometers or basically 2 years of driving. I was actually kind of shocked. I pulled this open and there was just loaded full of dust. You can see feathers, dog hair, leaves, a lot of stuff. So again, the cabin air filter is one of those things, they're often difficult to check. So you just change it when the service is due. And on this vehicle, one of those numbers that I showed earlier on the dash indicates that this one was due for service.
Now that's not what it would look like in a normal service interval, though, is it?
You know what? I mean, I've done them at a normal service interval, and they look, they're just a little dusty. So this one is exceptionally dusty, and I would say based on what I noted under the hood when we popped the hood of the car, there's a lot of dust. So this vehicle's been driven on some dusty roads, but yeah, this is pretty extreme.
I mean, it looks like a mouse nest.
Yeah. Kind of close. Well, I've seen worse, but this is like among as bad as they get, which is surprising. And yet sometimes I've seen them at 50,000 kilometers where they're barely dirty. But it's always best to just change it whenever the interval is required. Or if you do a lot of dusty road driving, change it more often. One other photo I've got to share too: the engine air filter. So this is the engine air filter. Again, hideously dirty. Probably should have been changed at the last service. I mean, in all fairness, this vehicle probably went 15,000 kilometers since the last service based on what you normally get on that maintenance reminder. But this filter was so dirty, I figured it should have been changed a long time ago. And, often this is a dealer serviced car. Often these things get neglected. I'm amazed how many times we have a dealer serviced vehicle where we check the air filter and it's just hideously dirty and they don't get looked at. And it was really about a 1 minute extra check. So a little bit of a rant about dealer service, and sometimes it appears to be neglected.
Why do you think that is?
I think the reason why is that the way dealer service works, technicians are paid flat rate. So they're assigned a job. You've got you're paid half an hour to do this job. The faster you do it, the more jobs you can do in a day, the more money you can make. It's kind of that simple. And whatever's specified, if it isn't specified to look at the air filter in the maintenance schedule, they don't look at it. Now, in all fairness, some cars, it's a lot of work to look at an air filter, and you wouldn't want to spend the time doing it unless you were paid extra time to do it. But on a lot of vehicles, they're so simple to inspect, and it's literally takes like a minute to look at it. So that's just, I think it's really the pay system that's used in a lot of dealerships. And, the incentive is there for the technician to do the least amount of work possible. Whatever is just barely recommended, that's what they'll do.
So given those images that we just saw, this vehicle maybe has been a little bit neglected. Is that just due to the owner?
Well, I was saying, some of it's due to the owner, of course, with the age of the overdue oil change. And, that's the cabin air filter. Hey, that's just something that just sucks air in, and there's nothing you can do about it. Same with the air filter. I mean, but the air filter to me is something that probably could have been inspected last service and replaced. I can't say because I wasn't the person looking at it last service, but I think, and I get it, sometimes it's hard to get in for a service. So there's a bit of neglect there. I mean, I've left my oil sometimes too long. I hate to admit it, but I know what the consequences can be. But yeah, I mean, some of it's the owner, but I think sometimes, sometimes where you're taking your car for service, are they looking at are they looking at things like the fluids? Are they really looking at the big picture of the car? And one thing I noticed with this car as soon as I looked under the hood is there was a lot of dust in the engine compartment. And that right away tells you this person drives on dusty roads. So that might warrant a little extra inspecting over someone, whose car is clean and it's a straight city use car.
And is it also a function of this? We got all this extra performance and reliability and economy from the VVT style of components on our vehicles, but they also require a little bit more rigorous maintenance schedules.
They do. The great thing about modern cars is they really don't need a lot. When you think about, I've been working on cars for a long time, and it used to be that every year you'd have to have your car tuned up. You have to change your spark plugs and have your points replaced and carburetor adjusted and carburetor cleaned, because the car wouldn't start or it would run really poorly. But with modern cars, you just hop in, you start it at, if it's like minus 20 Celsius out, the car starts and runs just like it does at plus 20. It's fantastic. And you don't need to change your oil as often. There's longer intervals because the oils are better. The engines, the fuel systems are more precise. Oils don't get contaminated. I mean, it's great how modern cars work. It's just easy to forget about it sometimes. And just the important thing is, when your oil change reminder comes on, just do the services. They're simpler than they used to be. They cost often more per service, but you need less service overall. So it really just a matter of following the schedule and maybe doing it a tiny little bit more, because I find a lot of manufacturer schedules are a little stretched if you want your car to last for a long time.
Yeah, as we've seen in other podcasts, if you leave your oil for 50,000 kilometers, you might be getting a brand new engine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, more frequently than not. I have seen the odd person severely neglect their engine. Like I had one client, he a couple times went 50,000 kilometers, and I'll tell you, it was a Honda CRV. 50,000 kilometers between oil changes on a couple occasions, and the engine actually survived and never blew up. That is like the most unusual, rare thing I've ever seen, because I've seen many other cars where, you hit 40,000 without changing the oil and the engine throws a rod. So there's something miraculous in that Honda, that particular Honda. But that one too had no variable valve timing. It was a timing belt, so you could, not saying you should abuse it, but it was less sophisticated in that way. It relied less on the oil for some of the more sophisticated systems in the engine.
So be safe, follow the maintenance schedule, or better.
Yeah. I want to share a couple other photos too, just before we. I know we're nearly wrapped up here, but I found a couple other things kind of amusing on this car here. The other thing I was just going to share too. This is the air filter box, and I apologize. The picture's kind of blurry, but there's again a lot of guck inside the air filter box. And when we do the service here, we actually take time to vacuum that out so it doesn't get sucked right back into the air filter immediately. But here's basically a view of the engine. You can see the dusty and dirtiness of it, which kind of makes you realize why the cabin air filter might have been dirty and the engine air filter. But the other thing I thought was very amusing is this little decal right here, and I have a closer photograph of it. I don't know what manufacturers think of sometimes, but I don't know what Earth Dreams technology is, but it just made me chuckle. It's like GM had, 10, 15 years ago brought out the Ecotech engine, and it's just funny how they have this environmental greenwashing terms for a carbon dioxide pump engine, but it amused me, so I just thought I'd share that.
Well, since we're dreaming about Earth here, this car's pretty young. How are Honda Civics for reliability?
Well, they're really good. Again, change the oil regularly. I mean, it's a fantastic car. I mean, really, really nice to drive. Lots of power, lots of pep. Should last a long, long time if you change your oil regularly. Again, it's 2016, so I don't know how long it's going to be, how good it's going to be in the long run. But based on Honda's track record, I would say it'd be a good buy of a car. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it.
Probably will last until they need to buy themselves an electric car.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Yeah, until electric cars are really popular.
Yeah.
Till the Earth dreams are really
taking place. Yeah. All right. So if you're looking for service for your Honda products in Vancouver, the guys to see are Pawlik Automotive. You can reach them at 604-327-7112 to book your appointment. You have to book ahead. They're always busy. Or check out their website, pawlikautomotive.com. For you folks who keep calling from all over North America, we appreciate your calls. But if you're not in Vancouver, we can't really diagnose your car over the phone. Not very in integrity for us to try and do that. So enjoy what we provide and talk to your local service dealer for your service needs, please. We help people in Vancouver. And thank you for watching the podcast. Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you for mentioning that, Mark, and thank you for watching.